Seeded Blues were ousted in the first round by San Jose. But once again, the Blues are off to a strong start, and they want to prove they've learned their lesson and can finish what they start. They look at the Panthers as one more obstacle to redeeming their disappointing finish of last year. It's the Florida Panthers and the St. Louis Blues tonight on ESPN2's National Hockey Night. Welcome to Savvis Center here in St. Louis. The St. Louis Blues, one of the powerhouse teams in the tough Western Conference, playing host to the Florida Panthers, trying to find an identity in the Eastern Conference. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Strader. Will the St. Louis Blues learn a lesson from their first-round ouster in the playoffs next spring? We probably won't know the answer to that until next May or June. However, Brian Engblom, we know one thing for sure. In the 4 years with Larry Plow as GM and Joel Quenneville as coach, they have used a winning formula to build this organization.
Yeah, they have, Dave, and I think it goes around the fact that they have four lines that have tremendous puck pursuit at high speed. Very few teams in the National Hockey League are able to accomplish that. Also, goaltending. Very strong goaltending. Doesn't matter who's in, whether it's Turek or Johnson. And team defense inside the zone. Now, I'm not talking just defensemen here. I'm talking about all five guys that are inside the zone and their ability to move the puck out of trouble quickly.
Determination and character are also characteristics of the St. Louis team. Never more evident than Wednesday night, one of the great all-time comebacks in NHL history, Brian. Down 5-0 in the third period, they came back to win in overtime.
It's unbelievable. There are one or two games every year the coaches look back on to make a big difference your year. I think that's one of them for St. Louis.
Something else that was evident in the comeback, a balanced attack. They don't just beat you one way.
Yeah, that's right. There are a lot of guys up front who can really hurt you, but I think Pierre Turgeon is sometimes overlooked these days on this St. Louis team. I really like the way this guy plays. His ability to control the puck is unbelievable. You watch how often he has it tonight. And Pavel Demitra, well, it looks like he's back. He got off to a bit of a slow start this season, but he and the Slovak pack, when they play together, are so darn good. Pavel Demitra is big trouble for the opposition.
Well, it's going to be big trouble for the Florida Panthers. They don't have the kind of balance the Blues have. In fact, most nights they get their offense from one guy, Pavel Bure. He had the only goal in a loss against Detroit last night. Bure will be tested tonight against the tough St. Louis Blues next. Playing host to the Florida Panthers. Tough stretch for the Panthers, who have found it tough really since the start of the year, as they will play tonight here in St. Louis before going to Toronto, and the youngster with only one win getting the nod in goal.
Yeah, Roberto Luongo actually has had a really strong season, except those numbers don't show it when the win and loss column because Florida struggled so much with injuries. This guy had a great training camp and is starting to get it back. And Brent Johnson, everything has gone right for this man. In fact, he was one that came in the third period in that 6-5 overtime win against Toronto, coming into the game down 5-0, Dave, and he wins 6-5, getting the win. Can you say destiny?
Yeah, and he only had to face two shots. He makes two saves. Most of the play was at the other end, but he gets the victory. Terry Murray is in desperate need of victories, and he knows he's up against it here against this Joel Quenneville club that hasn't played since that miraculous comeback. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably the Blues would have liked to have gone out and played the very next morning.
Yeah, that's true. When you have a game like that, I mean, you just don't see that every day. There have been so few examples of that in the NHL ever.
Those of you that watched National Hockey Night last night saw Igor Larionov go off the ice after he was hit hard just above the right ankle by a Doug Brown slap shot. Did not return to the game, but Larionov not only is in the game, he is starting at center ice here for Terry Murray. As Jacopin, the defenseman, going back to touch up on an icing call here, and we'll have a face-off back in the Blues zone.
Well, Pavel Bure came out for the face-off and then went right to the bench right away. Perhaps we're going to see if there is a matchup there. Terry Murray, the coach, want to see what's happening. So the puck was dropped, and Bure, I think he can take a little longer shift than that.
Well, he did not look like a happy man last night, and it was kind of strange, as both Bill Clement and I were commenting, that late in the game, down 2-1 against a powerful team like Detroit, a 4-on-4 situation that was leading into about a 25-second power play, and Bure did not play at all in the 4-on-4. came out for the short power play. It just seemed like kind of a strange situation.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, Serge Payet, who was basically a fourth-line guy, I believe ended up with more ice time in last night's game than Pavel Bure did.
Here is Pavel Demitra that Brian talked about at the top of the show. Playing on a line with Jochen Hest and Michael Handzus, number 26 on the right side. These three were a big part of that comeback Wednesday night at Air Canada Center in Toronto. Romanov's pass did not get into the zone, so McInnes able to dump it in. Collision on the far side. Hess was there. They get it deep. Here's Demitra. He's dangerous in the offensive zone. Gives it off now to Handzus. Back to Demitra as they get some cycling going. Demitra, though, had it knocked away, and it's cleared back out to center ice.
It'll be interesting tonight to see exactly how Florida does play. They won 4 out of 6 games in a stretch, Dave, by playing dump and chase. That's when they were missing a lot of their regulars. Now they've got guys back in the lineup like Ray Whitney and Kozlov and Larionov, more of their skilled guys. So they're kind of stuck in between trying to hang on to the puck or dump and chase.
Brent Johnson decides to cover up there with Ray Whitney right in the area.
It's been a long start to the season for Terry Murray, again, because of the injuries. I mean, there's been stretches where he's had 10 or 11 guys off his roster out of the lineup, unable to play. And again, some of the really good players, the ones that I just mentioned, the Whitneys and Kozlovs and Larionovs, missing for a long time. Florida doesn't have that kind of depth where they can respond like maybe Colorado has.
Right.
Colorado's had injuries, a lot of other teams have, and have gone on. But Florida's just been unable to score any goals. Pavel Bure, whom you're looking at right there, is the only one who scored any goals. After that, there's a huge drop-off, and that's been their biggest nemesis, not being able to score.
Now, Victor Kozlov there on the bench, huge drop-off, does not have a goal yet. Right now, Paul Stewart, one of the 2 referees working tonight, is over on the phone by the penalty timekeeper's bench. I don't know if there's a clock problem, but it will be Paul Stewart and Greg Kimmerly as the 2 referees. Mike Civic and Brad Lazaro, which are the linesmen, and you see Stewart talking and relaying his message at center ice.
If Florida plays a dump and chase game tonight, Dave, and they're unable to retrieve the puck, I mean, they're going to play right into St. Louis's hands. St. Louis is maybe the best team in the league at getting back to the puck and making the first pass out of the zone, particularly when McInnes or Pronger are out there.
Yeah,
and one of them is out there almost all the time.
No, they're very capable of beating 2 or 3 of your guys with one pass.
Yeah, you get caught in no man's land halfway in between forechecking and back-checking, St. Louis will tear you apart.
Blues controlling the draw here in their own zone. That was an area that has plagued the Panthers as well. They did a little better in the 3rd period of that game against Detroit last night, but the Wings dominated the face-off area, and the Panthers did not fare very well in their previous game, a home loss against the Carolina Hurricane. Len Berry sending it behind his own net. Anders Eriksson moves it now to Spela, had his head down, and Jamal Mayers made him pay for that with a big hit. And the crowd here in St. Louis loves it as the puck is cleared back the other way.
And Florida's going to get a steady dose of that from Jamal Mayers. That's one of the things he does the best. We were talking a moment ago about Pavel Bure and the fact that he naturally leads them in goal scoring all the time. It's a little bit too lopsided, as a matter of fact. He has a huge percentage of the total goals that they have scored. Last year, of course, he won the Maurice Richard Trophy as the top goal scorer. It was a new trophy instituted last year after the great Rocket Richard. And I didn't realize this, Dave. He actually has 14 goals right now. That is 6 above his pace this time last year. By the end of November, he only had 8 goals last year, and he ended up with 58. He's got 14 now.
Well, that's the thing about him. He can be such a tremendously streaky scorer. When he gets on a roll, he's capable of scoring 8, 9, 10 goals in a 5 or 6 game span. Here is Pitlick now behind Luongo. 2 young goaltenders going head-to-head in this matchup tonight on National Hockey Night. Todd Simpson will lob it deep into the Blues zone. St. Louis Blues have lost only 1 game on home ice. And that puck didn't come out as Pitlick held it in for the Florida Panthers. Now Scott Young again toward the line, but didn't get it out. Bure is there along with Whitney. Victor Kozlov, number 25, setting up in front of the net. Now goes along the end boards to pick it up. Kozlov, a tremendously talented big kid, but just doesn't produce the numbers often enough to go along with the skills that he's got. And here is Young with it now out to center ice. That is off the stick at Dallas Drake, and he just avoided Pitlick, who came across, and Drake took a look over his shoulder, had something to say to the Florida defenseman. Marcus Nielsen trying to flip it ahead of the playoff side at the St. Louis line.
Well, Dave, going back to that incredible 6-5 overtime victory against Toronto the other night, it's got to help a guy like Jochen Hecht, who has been a little bit in and out this season. He had the game-winning goal in overtime after they had come back from a 5-0 deficit, and they win 6-5 in overtime in the early stages of overtime. Now, a guy like Hecht benefits from it. Alex Havanoff did a heck of a job. He scored 2 goals, too. And maybe, it's a real coming-out party for that kid, too, who's done a heck of a job for them on defense. And as I said at the top of the show, a game like that is something that the coaches will look back on in the season and say, yeah, that was a determining factor in our confidence level this season.
Big hit and ring low, the tough kid for the Blues.
Oh, that right shoulder, that is not good. That is not good. That baby is hanging down there. He really got pounded into the glass, and I believe the glass has been dislodged at the same time.
Yes, it has.
Geez, now it looks like he's trying to shake it off. But, oh, yeah, when you get hit from the sort of the backside like that, listen to this, folks.
Oh, boy. Good thing the glass did give way.
Now, 2 things could have happened there. Either it's his shoulder or his elbow got driven into his own ribs. But, man, that was a huge collision there for Reed Lowe to have to withstand. And trainers out there taking a look at him right now. It looks like he wants to stay out. When he first went down, Dave, I thought, man, that arm is hanging so low. It looked like he had a shoulder separation or something. But obviously it's not that bad. And then you look and see what the damage they did to the glass there.
Well, let's take a look at what the Savvis Center went through this afternoon as the St. Louis Billikens basketball team played a game here earlier today.
Boy, those guys are fast.
Well, are they ever?
Oh. I could use that cleanup crew in my house.
It is amazing. Look at that.
And they finally got the boards off the ice at 5:30 because of the basketball game. This happens a lot in every major building in the country. So we'll be keeping an eye on the ice surface again tonight as we see them fix the glass after that big collision. But especially for the skill players, and we're seeing a lot of skill players in this game here tonight. Pavel Bure, of course, and Dimitra and Turgeon.
Well, speaking of skill, Brian, we're going to see skilled goaltending in our next National Hockey Night matchup here on ESPN2. The all-time career win leader, of course, Patrick Roy, will go against Martin Brodeur. And Patrick will want to play well against Brodeur and the defending Stanley Cup champions. That's in New Jersey, Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
Oh, that'll be a great matchup. New Jersey Devils are certainly different when they got Arnott and Niedermeyer back. They're a happy group. I saw them about a week or so ago, playing really well. And Colorado Avalanche have been a great story. So many injuries all year, and they just keep winning. Well, it looks like they're ready to restart the engines here after that glass was being fixed. Now everybody's got to get their legs back under them and see who can draw first blood in this game.
Face-off win by the Blues. Here's McGinnis with it, sends it toward the net, and Luongo just making sure, able to corral that loose puck.
Well, face-offs are a big part of the game, especially when you have a guy like Al McGinnis on the point. Florida struggles in that area. They were horrible last year. They brought in Mike Sillinger at the end of last season, and they got better. But Mike Sillinger is one of those guys that's still hurt for Terry Murray.
Yeah, that's right.
So now you're facing a situation where Terry Murray knows he has to be real careful who he puts out there on the draws. That was another pretty clean win for St. Louis, although it just got along the boards there, and McGinnis just flipped it at the net. Thank goodness, because he usually shoots 100-mile-an-hour rockets.
It's good to see Reed Lowe is back out on the ice. Face-off win by the Blues to the net. They score! Boy, face-offs have been a problem for Florida, and Tyson Nash in front, able to tap it home, and the Blues with a 1-0 lead.
Well, maybe they were so worried about winning the draw that Florida just wasn't ready when the puck was dropped. Tyson Nash should not be able to go to the net there. The puck went into no man's land as far as the Florida players are concerned, in between the center iceman and the defenseman in the circle. Both of them went towards the puck. Tyson Nash just went towards the front of the net, and he got a beautiful pass right on the doorstep, and all he had to do was tap it underneath Roberto Luongo. So a tough start here for the Florida Panthers as they don't get their face-off assignment straightened out on that face-off, and it's 1-0 St. Louis. Terry Murray doesn't like it. You can see that slight shake of the head. Those are the ones that drive coaches nuts. They talk about assignments and face-offs all the time inside your own zone. That one just plain got screwed up.
Here is Murray now from inside his own zone, just clearing it to center ice. Pronger goes back to Hanzus, and he drives it back behind Luongo. Luongo Wanted to leave it, but decides to play it. Whitney left wing side, plays it off the boards. Handzus hustles back, getting some help from Pronger. Victor Kozlov was upset at the Blues line, and it's offside again. Terry Murray was talking after the game last night. There's been a lot in the papers with the 3 skilled guys coming back off the injured list, Whitney and Kozlov and Larionov. And as we were talking about earlier, a lot of success when those guys were out of the lineup on a road trip when they went to the simple dump and chase. As we take a look at, again, the faceoffs burning the Florida Panthers from our Southwest Airlines goal cam. But Terry Murray was saying it's not just the style, the dump and chase versus carry it in. He said it's little things like faceoffs, like turnovers in the neutral zone. They just keep burning them.
You get preoccupied by an influx of talent basically coming into the lineup. Again, Whitney, Kozlov, and Larionov, 3 of their most skilled guys. Now, what kind of style are we going to want to play? And sometimes you get preoccupied. You stop thinking about the little things like that faceoff that we just saw and what it can do to you. And the fact that Florida cannot score any goals.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, it's just killing them. Now already they're thinking, oh no, is this going to be one of these nights that, we just can't score any goals? There's Igor Larionov. And Terry Murray's got to be wondering right now too, okay, we're down 1-0 early on the road. Is the dump and chase going to work? Is anybody going to come up with any goals? Look at that. I mean, you can just see the anxiety in his face, and I don't blame him because I think he already knows what his team is thinking.
Now, Larionov was pretty outspoken about not necessarily agreeing with Terry Murray's philosophy. And one of the Florida writers had a great line of, hard to keep an old cat off new furniture.
I don't know if Igor would appreciate that, but hey, what the heck, it's true.
Paille dumps it in on Brent Johnson, who steers it aside. McInnes is there. The Panthers trying to get some kind of a forecheck going here. Dallas Drake dumps it along behind his own net. Bryce Salvador, another one of the newcomers to this St. Louis team. Remember, they won the President's Trophy. They had the disappointing loss to San Jose in the first round, but the nucleus of a team that's going to be a contender for a lot of years. But give them credit, they made some changes. Pass up the middle, dangerous there. Larionov with the intercept, and he's bumped by Salvador, and the get it back.
Sorry, Dave, that's unusual too, because St. Louis, as I remarked, is really good their first pass out of the zone, especially McInnes and Pronger. That was Bryce Salvador, a young kid, so it's more likely to happen with one of those guys, but he put that one right on Larionov's stick when they were in full control of it. Not usually a trait of the St. Louis defense in general.
Number 55 is Vladimir Chebaturkin, and he's just up from the minor leagues. Quick shot here by Dimitra. Sails wide. Sean Hill is on the injured list for the St. Louis Blues. It comes to the near side now. Havanoff's shot was blocked to the far boards. Handzus picks it up, tried to dump it behind the net to Dimitra, but the Panthers come up with it, and Worrell sends it deep into the Blues zone. Peter Worrell had probably 2 or 3 of the best scoring chances for the Panthers last night in that loss against Detroit.
Yeah, and I remember you and Bill Clement talking about it last night. You could hear the moans from the hometown crowd, couldn't you, when they were missing their scoring chances, Worrell in particular.
Murray stopped. Kozlov fans on it as he lifted his head, perhaps just took his eye off the puck, and that's what's been going on for Victor Kozlov. Pronger, a little problem handling the puck. He recovers nicely, though. Now Havanoff waiting and flips it out to center ice, knocked down with a high stick, and so we get a whistle. Tyson Nash gets a goal on the second shot of the game. Second straight game. The Panthers have allowed a goal on just the second shot. Your goal scorer, Tyson Nash. You know, that line, Brian, was on the ice, I think, for the first 2 goals in that game. And they're down 5-0. And credit Joel Quenneville. He kept playing everybody. Yep. And wasn't Tyson Nash on the ice for the first goal? I think his line won the draw, and Pronger scored to make it 5-1. And nobody knew that the comeback was started. But, you know, you got to credit the coaching staff. They kept playing everybody.
You bet. Well, I think part of it was I don't think he knew who to play because they had been so bad for the first 45 minutes of the game. Again, we're talking about this 6-5 win against Toronto. 45 minutes, they were the worst team in the league, maybe, and then all of a sudden they went back to being the best team in the league, arguably.
Whitney sends it ahead. Niedermeyer on the backhand. Goes high. He scores. What a shot by Niedermeyer. And immediately, the referee pointed. That made such a distinct pinging sound. It sounded like it may have hit the bottom of the crossbar.
Absolutely, Dave. That's exactly what happened. The toughest shot for a goaltender to read is a backhandle. I'll tell you that. Now watch Niedermeyer get all of this. And of course, Brent Johnson was on his way down. There's a little bit of room over his left shoulder, and Niedermeyer fills that area. And it went off the inside iron, and it just clanked coming in. I think that one just exploded on Johnson. He never expected the trajectory to come off the stick so high and so quick. Beautiful backhand shot. You know who used to make backhands like that? Wayne Gretzky. You don't see guys very often who can make great backhand shots.
Well, Niedermeyer did not have a goal, Brian, in his last 15 games, and this is a kid that's averaging 20 minutes of playing time every night. Center ice and Luongo better be ready because Al McGinnis has scored on several goaltenders from center ice during his career. We're going to have a penalty here, I believe, against Brett Hennigan of the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, Hennigan was tied up with Craig Conroy. I thought they were both going to go for a second, but Paul Stewart is just signaled Brett Hennigan. So St. Louis has a chance to go. Look, top right of your screen. Number 4 in blue gets the stick up. Oh, yeah, that's interference. That's what the call is right there. You see, clearly interference. Conroy did not have the puck, was not anywhere near it. And now St. Louis with a chance to go on the power play here and take the lead again. But a big confidence booster for Niedermeyer and for the Florida Panthers here, Dave, to have scored that goal relatively quickly for them and get themselves back in this hockey game.
Now, the St. Louis Blues, like a lot of teams, Brian, a lot of times these numbers, it's hard to figure, but they score first. They are 13-1 in the 14 games the Blues are when they've scored the first goal. As you take a look at the special teams, not what you'd expect from the St. Louis Blues. It's probably the one area where Joel Quenneville's club, in terms of rankings, are not anywhere near where their numbers should be. Especially with guys like Pronger and McGinnis on the top power play unit. McGinnis drives the shot, and Luongo just got a piece of that. It's almost like survival for a goaltender when McGinnis winds up, even from 55 feet. Just to hopefully get some piece of your body or equipment on that shot.
And part of you saying, I don't know if I want to have a piece of my body in front of that shot. Al McGinnis has got one of those shots that the puck seems like it's pure lead when it's coming at you. I mean, that's what we mean when we talk about a heavy shot. When it comes off of Al McGinnis' stick, it's going about 100 miles an hour, 9 times out of 10. And it has that extra weight behind it. Roberto Luongo.
Boy, look at that. Very little offensive support. Yeah. Less than a goal and a half a game.
It's tough for a young kid. He's only 21 years old.
Pronger drives a shot. That was deflected out deep. Comes back out now between the circles. McGinnis smartly to the corner with it for Scott Young. Young sends it across. Pronger, quick one-timer, and that kind of misfired on him up off the glass. Young rolls it back to Turgeon. Turgeon gives it off to Pavel Demitra. Back to Turgeon behind the net. Here's Demitra again. Rink-wide pass. Len Berry got a stick on that. Quick shot by Young. Didn't get through. Now Pitlick tries to hammer it out of there. And the official, Kimmerly, out at center ice, has spotted a high sticking infraction. And players from both sides kind of looking. Still a minute 21 left in the Hennigan penalty. And it looks like it's going to be a St. Louis penalty to give us a 4-on-4 situation.
Another good break for Florida. St. Louis was not moving the puck around tremendously. They certainly weren't getting any real good shots on Roberto Luongo. Let's see if we can pick up what the penalty was here. Action along the boards. A couple of sticks got up.
Right there. Yep.
I don't think it was even. I don't even think it was his stick. That's Young that got called for the penalty.
Yeah.
That's why he was looking around so dumbfounded. He's still shaking his head. What, me? High sticking?
Young, St. Louis, 2 minutes, high sticking.
So 4 skaters aside. Gary Murray comes out with Serge Paille and Igor Larionov as the 2 forwards. Anders Eriksson and Robert Spalo, the top defense pair. Joel Quenneville countering with Demitra and Hesh as the forwards. And McGinnis, Salvador, the defenseman. Here's a steal by Demitra. Larionov trying to stay on him. Spalo using his body against Jochen Hesh. Eriksson pushes it along the boards. Larionov gets to it and helping out. Eriksson gets it out to center ice. It's picked up by Larionov. Being pursued there by Heston. It's cleared back the other way. One of the officials fell down. Here's Demitra going cross ice, and the play offside. It was the referee Stewart that fell down.
Oh, did he ever? He went for a tumble like you wouldn't believe. It's a good thing he didn't whack his head. Paul Stewart was backing up. He may have hit a rut in the ice, and you think he's going to go over and take a look. Again, we mentioned the fact that there was basketball here this afternoon, and there may be some ruts out there. That's Stewie, all right. Sticks the tongue out there. He was probably getting a couple of jeers from the bench there. He'll go over and probably, he's going to go over there and talk to him. That's Paul Stewart. Terrific. I'm glad he's not hurt. Man, did he take a tumble. Oh. The last penalty, let's take a look again. Barry turns around. Len Berry's stick, Len Berry's the one who turned around and looked like he got hit with the stick, but you can tell that Scott Young's stick had white tape on it.
It was Berry's teammate.
Yeah, his own teammate that got him.
Here is Nash, who has the goal. The Blues with a 1-0 lead. Dave Trader along with Brian Inglom and the rest of our National Hockey Night crew here in St. Louis. One-timer on the way from Tyson Nash over the head of Luongo. Now Finley gives it off to Nash. Nash in the corner, being pressured there by Jacopin. Now Turgeon. And Paul Stewart hustled to get out of the way.
We've seen a couple of those one-timers go over the net and over Luongo already. I think that's bad ice already. The puck's just not laying flat.
And back the other way comes Burry with a burst of speed. Gets the shot away, scores! Pavel Burry! Oh, and the crowd was reacting because Tyson Nash had gone to the ice, but the official had a good look at it. And Burry strikes to make it 2-1 Panthers.
Two really smart things Pavel Burry does here. He doesn't touch the puck when it's thrown up the ice. He just skates after it. He's one of the fastest players in the league. You don't have to handle it. He can just concentrate on skating. Look at him go. Then watch the change up here, folks. He shoots junk at Brent Johnson. Brent Johnson is a younger goaltender, hasn't seen the likes of Pavel Burry an awful lot. But watch this in fast action. Watch how Pavel uses his stick. I'm going to shoot it hard. No, I'm not. Opens up the 5-hole. Brilliant goal by a top-notch goal scorer, Pavel Burry.
Well, Burry continues to be the huge chunk of this Florida offense, his 15th of the year. And, of course, he had the only goal last night in that 3-1 loss against the Wings. And Burry now with 6 goals in the last 8 games, including this one.
Goal scorers have great touch. We talk about great touch all the time, Dave. That was one of the best examples of touch that you can show from a great goal scorer. They don't always shoot the puck as hard as they can. That was tremendous there. It was a changeup. It was like a knuckleball for the third strike in baseball.
Centering pass for Niedermeyer, and that went too close to his skates. And back comes Jesus now. Back into the blue zone, out to center ice. Eriksson rolls it across. Bela lead pass. Jesus had it in his skates. And the Panthers with newfound confidence and a lead over the Blues here in St. Louis. And that play is offside at the Blues line. National Hockey Night will bring you more great NHL action. 2 of the original 6 and one of the great rivalries in the history of the NHL will be renewed at the Joe Louis Arena. Brendan Shanahan of the Red Wings will try to solve Curtis Joseph and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'll be at Joe Louis Arena with Bill Clement. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, Wednesday on ESPN2. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
Great old rivalry there, too, between the Leafs and the Red Wings. 2 hot teams, and there's a hot guy with the hot stick right now. 15th goal of the year for Pavel Burry.
Now, 2 games ago, Brian, in a 2-1 loss, overtime loss to Carolina, he did not have a shot on goal after 139 consecutive games of getting at least a shot on goal. I'm not surprised that a guy like Burry would have that kind of a streak.
No, I mean, he's a shooter. I mean, he knows every time he goes to the net, he's going to get it on net one way or the other. And it is very unusual for him to come away in any game without a shot.
Well, the Blues have come out on this shift, obviously trying to get the physical part of the game going. 4 different Panthers touched the puck coming up the ice, and all 4 of them were hit, and the play ended up being offside. And so now you're going to see
Jamal Mayers right in the middle of things. They're trying to get things stirred up. I mean, St. Louis is a really tough team here at home. It's tough to play in this building, tough to play in this city, and they want to reestablish themselves. They realize that they're down 2-1 here in this game very quickly, and I think it's got their attention. I mean, good teams realize early that we've lost their edge a little bit. Joe Quenneville, Dave talked to you and I before the game. I did a St. Louis game a few weeks ago. Yeah. And both times he kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, hey, you know, we got a great record. And he sort of like keeps his fingers crossed when he says it. But he said, we're not the consistent team that we were last year. Now, they do have some new faces. They made some changes. You know, they had some older players that they let go. I mean, every team now has a lot of turnover. Right. So I think that had something to do with it. But he just kind of, you know, is very cautious about the fact that, yeah, we have a good record, but we're not the team that we need to be yet.
Well, their goals against coming in is ranked first in the league. They've already given up more than their average. Their average is 1.89 goals against on the season. They are second in goal scoring. They've got a dangerous power play, even though it isn't ranked that high, and they are first in penalty killing, and they're not yet anywhere near the top of their game. Look, look out, rest of the NHL.
No kidding.
Just past the halfway mark of the first period, the Panthers look like they're in a hole, but they've got this guy, the Russian Rocket. They're never out of it. Burry has made it 2-1 Florida. Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive.
Yeah, lots of different ways it can hurt you.
Don't know about leaping the tall buildings, but wow. Yes, that was sped up a bit on the tape, but it probably looks that way to opposing defensemen and goaltenders. Turgeon is bumped along the boards there by Niedermeyer. Puck comes free. Scott Young has it, sets it up quickly. Slid just wide by Dallas Drake, and then he was bumped to the ice by Jacobin, the big defenseman for the Panthers, wearing number 15.
That's, I think, the third good opportunity which missed the net for St. Louis.
That looked like it was going to be a good chance for Whitney, and boy, did the Blues come back and quickly snuff that away. Dallas Drake makes a move to the outside, drops it back for Young. Young gets it off McGinnis between the circles. What a stop, rebound, score! Turgeon has tied the game.
I can imagine that Roberto Luongo's eyes were about the size of dinner plates. Al McGinnis, right dead center, top of the circle, 100-mile-an-hour slap shot. Take a deep breath, and he made the save. Great save it was, because McGinnis got all of that one. But unfortunately for Luongo, he didn't get any help on the rebound. Look at McGinnis all alone in front. Oh, my goaltender's worst nightmare. And then Pierre Turgeon in the face-off, in the crease area, just looking for loose change. They let him get away from him. Brett Hedican had Turgeon just for a second. Hedican lost his balance. There's number 4 right there. I think he was worried about the fallout from the McGinnis shot. And Turgeon gets a free one from the blue paint.
Number 2, Al McGinnis.
Pronger dumps it back into the Panther zone. And Scott Young will get the other assist. He made the nice feed to McGinnis between the circles. I mean, it is almost impossible not to give up a rebound on a McGinnis shot unless it happens to go right into the webbing of your glove.
That was a heck of a save. I mean, he got a body part in front of it. You can't expect to control a rebound like that.
Here is Heston. He had Pronger cruising in with the stick raised and ready to go. After that second goal by the Panthers, St. Louis has really come out and laid the body on the Florida Panthers. Panthers are trying to respond, and that pass out to the blue line forced Finley to back up in the neutral zone.
Yeah, once they were down 2-1, we were talking about them laying on the body, and that's the sort of the old school way to do it, Dave. I mean, you can get back, you have to get yourself back in the game, get physical again, reassert yourself, especially in your own barn, which is what St. Louis did, and then to get a great scoring chance for their top guys. McGinnis taking the shot and Turgeon putting it in. Now the momentum definitely back in St. Louis's court.
Ole Jokinen tried to set it up there for Bure. Pavel Bure being watched there by Havanoff, and he's going to need some help, and he gets it. That's what the Blues also do well. Support the puck. Here comes Eastwood. Cross the line of the play, just offside at the Panther blue line.
Well, the play at both blue lines is probably going to be more important to Florida, I think, in this game than it will to St. Louis. You look at Pierre Turgeon, 9th goal of the season. Turgeon just has that knack for the puck. I mean, he knows where to go. I'm sure he wasn't going to go in there and try to deflect the puck when Al McGinnis was ready to pull the trigger, because he wouldn't want to get killed. I mean, folks, you have to experience down at ice level what an Al McGinnis shot is really like. And Turgeon knew exactly that if this one doesn't go in on the fly, there's something going to be laying there. And sure enough, he got a free one. I mean, he only had to tap it in about 1.5 feet.
Turgeon, one of the great scorers in the league throughout his career. 8 times he has topped the 30-goal mark, and of course had a 58-goal season while a member of the New York Islanders. Brent Johnson was under some pressure there from Ivan Novoselic. He's roughed up a bit behind the net. Big hit coming there from Craig Conroy. Marcus Nielsen, and the Blues come out. They get a 3-on-2 if they hurry. Havanoff gets it about to the hash marks, then dumps it to the corner. Conroy is there. Behind the net is Reed Lowe. Lowe puck in his skates, still holding it off, though, against 2 Florida players. Now Lowe getting a pick from Conroy. Rolls it back in deep. Simpson plays it around the boards for the Panthers. It's picked up by Tyson Nash. Oh, then Reed Lowe able to unload the shot on the right pad, saved by Luongo.
Smart play by this line all the way around, Dave. Reed Lowe was real patient there. He didn't throw the puck out in front of the net for nothing, and he ended up getting a shot later.
Well, great football coming your way on ESPN and ABC. Sunday, the coverage begins with NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite at 7:30. Then at 8:30 Eastern, ESPN brings an NFC Central rivalry that goes way back to 1921. The Packers take on the Chicago Bears from Soldier Field. Then on Monday night, ABC travels to Foxborough, where the Chiefs need a win against the Patriots to keep their playoff hopes alive. Kansas City versus New England on Monday Night Football, live at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ABC. ESPN and ABC are your exclusive homes for primetime NFL football.
Now another big face-off again here for Florida, deep inside their own zone, and McGinnis back on the point for St. Louis.
Paille against Turgeon. Turgeon went to cleanly back to the line. Good stop there by Luongo.
It's just a matter of time before they score off of one of those again. It's already cost them 1 goal in this game for Florida. Not winning it back, but getting to the puck first. That first goal of the game.
Again, a shot went off the glove of Luongo. Now it's back out in front. The Panthers hustle back to cover up. Now here's McGinnis again. Tipped in front by Drake just wide. And off the end boards, we got a penalty coming. And it looks like interference is going to be the call here by Paul Stewart.
Yeah, Paillet's going to go to the bench here. It looks like interference. Turgeon was off to the side of the net. Paillet trying to keep a close eye on him, but of course you can only do that to such an extent as to not take a penalty. Paillet just flattened Pierre Turgeon off to the side of the net. Terry Murray's boys can't afford to take too many penalties because of the ability of guys like McGinnis and Turgeon. Top of the screen right there. There's the penalty. Paillet, the puck ended up coming to him. He'd already taken Turgeon down.
You know, Brian, we've already talked about speed, and you got one kind of speed like Pavel Bure, breakaway speed. The thing I noticed, this is the first time I've had a chance to see St. Louis live, is how quick they are as a team. What the fast pace you have to be able to play at in every zone in order to stay up with them.
Top end speed is great to have in the NHL. Quickness is more important because most of the game is played in short spaces. You don't get to go to top speed often.
Pronger with a blast, and his
another
shot,
one off the draw.
Might be underrated compared to an Al McGinnis, but Pronger can lean into it as well.
Roberto Luongo better have the stuffing real tight in those pads there tonight because he's going to get the stuffing knocked out of him if things go on like this, losing all these faceoffs.
McGinnis across the line. He slows down now, very patiently waits, takes the pass across, winds up top of the circle, drive save made. Simpson. He's not sure where the rebound was, and Dimitra got a stick on it. Turgeon has it again.
And did you see that shot from McGinnis? All the Florida guys got out of the way. Nobody tried to block that one.
Centering pass, slid just wide by Dimitra. He had some room inside that far post. Here's McGinnis again. Back to Pronger. Back to McGinnis. Winds up, lets the shot go, and it was blocked by Niedermeyer, who limps a bit.
Well, particularly the face-offs to the right of Luongo have really been a problem. St. Louis doing a heck of a job of getting the puck back to the point, and it's not always the clean draw. I mean, everybody's getting in on the act. You could see everybody came in, they got it back to Pronger. And then another time, this one is Pronger here. I think the other one was McGinnis, and they're getting their shots on net. I mean, Pronger's no slouch at shooting the puck either. But what really struck me too is these Florida guys are not anxious to get in front of those pucks to block shots.
16-5 advantage on the faceoffs. You see there the St. Louis Blues over the Florida Panthers. The puck possession so important in these situations. Pronger shot blocked by Scala, but knocked away by Dallas Drake. Again, they just force you to play at a quicker pace. McGinnis gives it off now. Hetz with a quick shot, and that was blocked in front by Anders Eriksson. And Eriksson winds up and finally drives it out of the zone.
Getting in the shooting lanes when you're killing a penalty is imperative. You have to do it. And that's what I'm talking about with Florida. And I don't blame a lot of these guys. They don't want to get in the way at times of the McGinnis shot. And that means trouble because he's going to get it through to the net. There's going to be a rebound, and then you're scrambling in your own end.
Here is Pronger. Red shot tipped by Hetz. That was redirected toward the net just a little bit too high. And the Panthers able to clear it inside 5 minutes now remaining in the first period. Blues and Panthers tied at 2. Here come the Blues. Luongo with a save as Handzus moved in from the left faceoff circle.
A little bit of on a line change there, a good chance for Florida as they were scrambling a little bit. Florida, a couple of guys went to the bench and changed. Prior to that, a couple of chances from the point. Good tip, who just went over the net again. And then here's Drake. This is the line change I'm talking about. Drake with a beautiful pass to Handzus. And it was Robert Svela, the only defenseman back, and he really did the only thing he could. He could see the play developing, but he was standing still sort of in no man's land because he wasn't getting support from his teammates who were in the process of going in a line change.
And a face-off win there for the Panthers. Much needed one as it comes around the boards. Niedermeyer failed to get it out of there, though. Now Dimitra rolls into the corner. Scott Young has it. Young starts behind the net, being pursued there by Simpson. It goes to Turgeon. Turgeon hands it off now. Dimitra at the hash marks to the line. McGinnis winds up, doesn't shoot. Dimitra winds up. He sends it cross ice. Having off to the net. Tip. Luongo down, and he makes a save. Paillet out of the box, but it's still pressure by the Blues in the Panthers zone.
And that quickness there, Dimitra just gobbled up that loose puck behind the net before any Florida player could get even close to it.
Here. Pitlick hands it off at Paillet. Winds up and drives it in from center ice. Brent Johnson covers up and decides to hold it there. Well, we've seen the speed of Pavel Bure, and it paid off with the goal that gave the Panthers the lead, but he and the rest of the Panthers are going to be tested the rest of this night. It's 2-2. Jason Nash, you see on the bench, he scored the first Blues goal. Turgeon scored most recently in between Niedermeyer and Bure for the Panthers, and we are tied at 2.
And you know the amazing thing that we're talking about St. Louis grabbing the game back again after Pavel Bure had made it 2-1 on scoreboard, Dave. Since Pavel Bure's goal, St. Louis has outshot Florida 10-1. A couple of power plays certainly helped that, but their puck possession has turned this game around in favor of St. Louis once again. So now it's up to Florida again to get something going again, whether it's through rotations down low or dump and chase or whatever it's going to be. But St. Louis Blues back in control of this one, even though the scoreboard is tied at 2.
A bit of a delay here as we wait for this face-off. Joel Quenneville looking on with a draw in the Blues defensive zone. It'll be Victor Kozlov against Eastwood. Eastwood won it cleanly back to Pronger. Again, he kind of fanned on the pass. He's being pressured there by Bure. Big size difference there, but Bure will try to fester the Blues defense as much as he can. Comes to Eastwood again, rolls it back across for the Blues captain, and Pronger gets control at the red line and dumps it in deep. Jacobin looked out as Jamal Mayers came in looking for a big hit. Mayers, Bartechko, and Eastwood. Quenneville likes the energy he gets from this line, but also capable of scoring. Centering pass, poked away by the goal stick of Luongo. And Worrell bumped hard by Jamal Mayers. And Mayers comes back, makes the defensive play. There's the puck back to the Panthers blue line. Spela tries to catch the Blues with a quick play the other way. No icing. Pronger backhands it right wing side. Reed Lowe is there. Sounded like Lowe took a slash, but play continues. Puck cut free, and look out, it's Bure that's got it. 3 Blues are back. Bure, though, that won't discourage him. He still tried to make the play, and it was knocked away.
He was trying to steal some time there and hope that somebody would come up on the play, but a couple of line mates of his were making a line change, so there was nowhere to go for Bure there.
Conroy had it slopped away, and now here's Marcus Nielsen. Eriksson tried to pass it up the middle to Jokinen, and that was broken up. Here was Conroy with it. Greg Conroy across the line. Backhand flip just wide of Luongo. Eriksson braced himself as Reed Lowe was carrying it. Oh, what a hit on Nielsen by Tyson Nash. Oh. I mean, it knocked the helmet right off. It looks like Nielsen's all right.
Oh, man, his head just snapped backwards and sideways. You can see his mouth sort of going, okay, he must have taken one on the lip. Take a look at this. Oh, baby, you think you should wear a helmet in the National Hockey League? You bet. Even though it did come off, the helmet took the brunt of the blow. I mean, Tyson Nash just punished him. He got the hands up.
Yeah, you know,
it was a blow directly to the head, which they've clamped down on a big way for good reason in the NHL this year.
St. Louis, 2 minutes, 40 and 17.
I think you make a good point. If his hands don't come up and he just delivers a hard hit, it's a good hit. Boy, he
definitely made full-on contact, and I don't think Nielsen realized he was there until the last second, and he couldn't defend himself, so he took that blow right on the side of the head. Looks like he's got all his faculties about him. He wouldn't if he wasn't wearing that helmet.
So the second power play opportunity here for the Panthers, who scored one last night after going 1 for November.
Oh, man. You think there were a lot of guys volunteering for the power play? I don't think so. It can be a really thankless job, especially on home ice, when your power play is struggling because you're just waiting for the fan to start booing you. Your hands get real tight. You're squeezing the stick. Nothing's happening. Boy, Florida's gone through all that on their power play this year.
But not only did they score only 1 power play goal in November, they gave up 5 shorthanded goals. Their power play was -4. I mean, that's hard to believe. But that's what's happened, and as you pointed out, Brian, at one time, Terry Murray had 7 regulars out of the lineup.
That's right. And you can work on power play. I mean, when you go cold, that cold, you can try everybody on your team. You can practice it for 20 minutes every day. Nothing seems to get any better for a while, no matter what you do. I think you just have to stop taking the penalties and take the yardage.
And it doesn't help going against the top penalty-killing unit with the St. Louis Blues as Victor Kozlov had it poked away, and here's Brett Hennigan with it. Boy, neutral zone turnovers are dangerous even against a short-handed St. Louis team. Most
of the time, Dave, almost always, when you see a power play that's struggling, they're having trouble getting the puck inside the zone under control, and Florida's certainly gone through that in this one.
Here is Bure. Threw a couple of players to him, trying to create some space. Now Niedermeyer looking to chase it down in the blue zone. He has it, sends it back to the line. Dan Boyle, number 26, is in the lineup tonight, replacing Greg Adams, who did not make the trip, incidentally, with the Panthers after their loss last night against Detroit. A little bit of swelling in the knee for Greg Adams.
He's been a good addition for them. They're going to miss him. He's put up a couple of points on the board in the short time that he's been with them.
See the time remaining in the power play and the time remaining in this first period.
Al McInnes, 2 straight times now the puck's gone into his corner. The first time under pressure, flipped it down the ice, no problem, up the middle. That time with the slap shot through the middle. McInnes is so good at that. An underrated part of his game is Al McInnes' play inside his own blue line.
Finley under some pressure, able to get it around the boards. It's tipped by Jochen Hess. Hess getting some help from Nash. Nash, the hit check there by Pitlick, and Tyson Nash went hard into the board.
Tyson Nash had his head down. Lance Pitlick came from off the radar screen there and had them all lined up and just plowed them into the boards there.
6.4 seconds left here in the first period. Gives us an opportunity to remind you to stay with us. The Dodge Different intermission report coming up on NHL tonight. Hasek versus Yager Part 2. They went at it last night, of course. The Lindros Lottery. And Domi, the Dominator. Ty Domi. I had to figure with him having the good offensive week that Barry Melrose probably has a nice little package put together.
That's great. Domi's got more goals than Matt Sundin. Who would have thought that? Oh. Look at this hit on Pitlick. You can see Tyson Nash's head was down. That was a beautiful hit. That's hip check the way it's supposed to be. Pitlick came from way across the ice to get him there.
Face off just inside the Florida line here. 6.4 seconds doesn't seem like a lot of time, and it won't be if it comes outside the line, which it does. Finley tries to rush it back in there, and the Blues are offside, and now under 2 seconds.
Florida's got to be pretty darn happy with the way things are going here right now. They're tied 2-2, so they've scored a couple of goals, which has been their biggest problem. They did play last night in Florida. Dave, you were there.
Yeah.
And, you know, they got in here at 2 o'clock in the morning. All the teams do it. They haven't had success in this building, and they're tied at 2. It's a pretty good first period for them.
Yeah, if you can score 2 goals on the road and when you've been struggling. But Tyson Nash got it started. That was answered by Niedermeyer and Len Bure. And it was Turgeon that got the goal that tied it up at 2, and that's where we stand. Let's go back to the studio. Turgeon was down on the ice. It comes back into the Blues zone, and Longer snaps it across for Finley. Abel Bure had 2 of the Panthers' 4 shots on goal. Shots were 14-4 in favor of the Blues in that first period. As Dallas Drake sends it in deep now for Young. Scott Young. He slides it toward the net. Luongo had to be sharp there as Turgeon cut in front of him. Turgeon rolls it back in deep. This guy Young got up to the great start. He's leading the NHL in goal scoring for the first week in November. Just 1 goal since then, although he has certainly been getting a number of shots on goal.
St. Louis cycling and working the boards down low here. Big advantage for them in this game, Dave, again, because it leads to face-offs inside the zone. And St. Louis killed Florida in the first period 23-7 in face-offs. So when they get cycling and sustain the puck inside Florida's end, distinct advantage St. Louis.
Murray trying to get in there again and disturb the Blues defense, and the icing call will be made here.
Let's take a look at the highlights from the first period. Some nice goals being scored by both teams right off the face-off. Conroy to Nash made it 1-0. Then Niedermeyer on the backhand rips it right over the shoulder of Brent Johnson. 1-1. Pavel Bure with an outstanding change-up makes it 2-1. And then Pierre Turgeon on the rebound of the Al McInnes shot while Roberto Luongo was checking for body parts, and it ties it up at 2-2.
That was career goal number 432 for Pierre Turgeon, which now makes him 45th in NHL history. Just moved ahead of Dave Taylor.
He's been in the league a long time. He came in as an 18-year-old, and he was dynamic right from the very beginning. Pierre Turgeon, as I mentioned at the beginning of the game, Dave, people sort of tend to forget about him, you know, because there's a lot of other players to talk about, good goal scorers, etc. Turgeon's been around forever, constant production, a big part of the St. Louis Blues team.
Ray Salvador trying to push it ahead. Hanses took a hit, but still dumped it deep into the Panthers zone. Todd Simpson will play it off the boards on the left wing side. Ray Whitney hands it off there. Lance Pitlick will drive it in wide. Brent Johnson decides to just leave it there for McInnes. Len Berry, number 19, was in there on the forecheck for the Panthers, but the Blues come out with it. McGinnis hands it off. Pavel Demitra across the line. Hesh gets a stick on it, but the Panthers regain control 2 minutes into this second period. Now Barry taps it deep into the blue zone. Hit by Niedermeyer on Havanoff, but the Blues able to recover and clear it out to center ice. Robert Spela under pressure there.
Lubos Bartechko was on the fly there, David, on the clearing pass from Demitra. Right through the middle of the ice, almost found the stick of Bartechko. He could read the play. That's fast break by St. Louis. Design plays and players reading off each other really well for the St. Louis Blues.
Here is Bartechko being bothered by Larionov. Eastwood tried to center it. It was blocked. Now it comes back toward the line. And it was all the way back into the blue zone. Havanoff has it there. Now Jacopin. The head again, he plays it back into the blue zone. And a giveaway here, and a quick shot fired just wide. That was Boyle, the defenseman, who's playing as a forward.
Yeah, that was not a very good pass or a smart idea there by Havanoff. So deep in his own zone, trying to go across the ice on a diagonal. That hit Boyle. He had a great chance there.
Boyle slides it toward the net, and there was Nielsen getting a stick down, and it went just wide. And it's back out to center ice. Brett Hennigan has it there. Reed Lowe coming in, looking to put a hit on the Panther defenseman. Now Igor Larionov for Nielsen. Nielsen makes a move, but quickly the Blues converge. And back comes Tyson Nash. Nash going wide, snaps to John Luongo the save, and he hangs on.
I'm not sure if Alex Havanoff changed his mind on his last shift, but that was just a not very smart play. Look where he was, deep in his own zone, making a pass diagonally inside your own net. You're just not supposed to do that unless you are 150% sure that there's a wide open space that you could put it on one of your teammates' stick. That went off of Boyle, and Boyle got a good chance from in close, and fortunately for St. Louis, nothing came of it.
No, Reed Lowe, there's the guy that leads the National Hockey League in penalty minutes, coming into this game with 92. The last rookie that led the league in penalty minutes was Joe Kocur back in the 85-86 season. Kocur set a league record with 377 penalty minutes, a rookie record. He is now the video coordinator for the Detroit Red Wings. And very happy to still be around the guys and part of the team. Longer shot here, and Luongo gathers that in and hangs on. Again, a face-off win. Leads to a shot that, in a lot of cases you wouldn't consider a scoring chance, but with the likes of Pronger, McGinnis, and the heavy shots that the Blues have from out there.
Yeah, and Roberto Luongo did a good job there. I mean, he just made sure there was no rebound. Again, Conroy to Nash, right back to the point. It gives enough time for Pronger to get it, and he kept it pretty low. Yep. Only a foot or two off the ice, which is smart. That's the ideal shot from the point, maybe even a little bit lower than that, but Luongo did a good job of smothering out.
Here is Nash, bumped to the ice by Corey. Pitlick takes down Lowe. Now it is slapped away, and Lowe has it here in the corner. Reed Lowe looking to the front of the net with a pass intercepted by Pitlick, and he plays it off the boards and out to center ice.
I think the St. Louis team over the last year or two, Dave, has really picked up a lot from the Slovak line. The Slovak line is their best cycling line. Now you have all four lines of St. Louis who really cycle well, and it's showing in this game.
Pronger, that pass usually gets through. That time it was blocked by Victor Kozlov. Erickson races back into the St. Louis zone. Tried to set up Ray Whitney. Tyson Nash plays it off the boards. It's kicked out by Spela. He held it in just momentarily as Nash able to clear. Now a quick move here by Pronger, and he had Nash moving up on the play. Pronger stayed with Anders Eriksson. Now Pavel Bure at center ice will lift it back into the blue zone.
Yeah, that's one of the areas of Chris Pronger's game where he's really stepped it up. I mean, literally stepping up on the play, following the puck up more quickly. I was a little shocked to see that it was Pronger making that play. Made a nice little nifty move and then just ran out of room. But up on the play as they dump pucks laterally inside the zone, sometimes Big 44 is in there looking for loose change and a chance on net.
Bergeron was handled well by Hennigan as he tried to kind of play his own pass off the boards. Now Worrell the other way for the Panthers. Winds up for the big shot from the blue line, and it's covered up by Brett Johnson. He'll hold it there. Let's go back to the studio. John and Barry.
Dave, I talked with Kevin Aneen yesterday of the Columbus Blue Jackets. He said he and his teammate Jeff Sanderson went deer hunting earlier this week. While Sanderson's now going thrasher hunting, he cuts the lead to 2-1 in Columbus.
All right, John. Just bringing a little something extra to the highlights with these stories. The Claude Lemieux deal will be covered on NHL tonight. John and Barry here on ESPN2 after the game. More on Ty Domi, the goal scorer, and we'll have a segment which we call North of the Border. All that coming your way on NHL tonight after the game.
Terry Murray been changing his lines up a lot. He's had to a lot this year because of the injuries again. Peter Worrell getting a fair amount of ice time. Worrell's out there right now, but he's been playing a lot with Bure and Kozlov. So far in this hockey game, out there with Len Barry as the centerman right now, and Niedermeyer.
Niedermeyer feeds it back to the line. Harrison's shot was blocked, and it comes back the other way. The pass was behind Jochen Hess. He'll still chase it down for the Panthers zone, and that was upended by Scala. Erickson goes along the boards. Niedermeyer pressured right away. McGinnis came in for the point, held it in. They continue to battle deep in the Panther zone. 5.5 minutes gone by, second period. Dimitra centering back, quick shot, and a save made there by Luongo. And Hanzu's kind of just looking toward the ceiling here at Savas Center.
That was Pavel Dimitra's work too from behind the net. This guy's a great hockey player, Dave. I really enjoy watching him. He's led the Blues in the last 2 years in scoring. Look at him heads up, waiting for Hanzus to get it free in front. Moves out, picks the spot. Oh, it's perfect. That's terrific teamwork. He and Michael Hanzus. And whether or not Bartechko, the other Slovak, is on with him or not, most of the time lately it's been Heshed. These guys have great feel for each other, and that play is really tough to defend against. This guy's got incredible speed. He is as dangerous on the rush as he is when they're cycling down low, making plays like that.
Another face-off win for the Blues, but the shot by Havanoff sailed wide, and the Panthers back into the Blues zone. Here's Igor Larionov curling inside the line, slowing the play down to the pace that he wants. And Boyle in deep. Had it taken away by Turgeon, and the Blues clear it. Panthers have to regroup, get back outside, and Pitlick lifts it back in. Brent Johnson will settle it down there. Johnson around the boards with it, and Pitlick unable to hold it in. Intercepted by Dallas Drake in the neutral zone. He'll dump it behind the Florida goal. Todd Simpson to Dan Boyle. He takes it off the board, starts it back the other way. There's Paille, drops it back. Boyle did not hold it in. It is still 2-2, 13.5 remaining here in the second period. Igor Larionov is the oldest player in the National Hockey League. He will turn 40 tomorrow. And we talked about it last night. It's for some reason it's a superstition in Russia to even talk about your 40th birthday. It's okay to celebrate 39 and 41.
Weird.
Yeah, 30's okay, 50's okay, but for some reason, and Igor doesn't even know the origin of it. But of course, we mentioned it on the air, and then he gets hit in the ankle and is out for the rest of the game. So whether that had anything to do with it or not, I don't know.
Well, I'm sure he's thanking you right now for bringing it up again.
Yeah. Just in case you didn't get hit hard enough.
If he hits up, if he gets hit again and looks up here to the booth, I know you're in big trouble.
Victor Kozlov after the Blues game close on a chance. Here's Whitney. Whitney slides it across, and a good stop there by Brent Johnson.
And Jochen Hess coming back at the last second to get a stick on that one too.
Jakovic's shot was blocked by Hanzus. Jakovic trying to stay with it, and that was Bure that was racing down the far side that Hanzus had to come back and defend.
I think that it sort of blurred the vision of Bure, and he certainly wasn't able to get a clean shot on the way he wanted to.
Whitney taken down, and the play had been whistled offside at the blue line.
Here's what Pavel Bure was doing away from the puck and how he got to the net. Now watch Hess come in at the last second. Oh yeah, definitely. Hess got a stick on that, and it only went off the foot of Pavel Bure. So good, excellent defensive read by a back-checking forward. One of the things that we talked about at the start of the game is the five-man defense that St. Louis plays so well. All four lines. The forwards come back. They come back to the middle of the ice. They pick up a loose man, and Hess did that one just in the nick of time.
Brent Johnson gloves down the dump in from center ice and hands it off behind the net for Al McGinnis. Snap pass up the middle, intercepted by Nielsen. Second time that's happened to one of the
and that one was Al McGinnis.
Yeah, I was going to say it happened to Pronger and now to McGinnis, and we talked about their ability on the first pass. It was almost like Nielsen was waiting for it.
I think we jinxed them because they brought it up as being one of their strongest suits. Bryce Salvador in the first period gave one to Larionov for free one too. So some unusual turnovers for St. Louis when they're under control in their own zone.
Now, speaking of St. Louis, Brent Johnson is the goaltender, of course, tonight for the Blues, and we talk so much about bloodlines and brother combinations, father-son in hockey. Brent Johnson's grandfather was Sid Abel. Brent's mom was Sid Abel's daughter, and for those of you that don't know, Sid Abel was the center for the production line back when you used to see line combinations get put together, not only stay together for a season, but for careers sometimes. It seemed like Sid Abel with Gordie Howe on the right side and Ted Lindsay on the left, the production line in Detroit. And Brent was saying that he was very much affected by the death of Sid, who passed away, unfortunately, last February, I believe, from cancer. But Sid Abel was a player, a general manager, a coach, and a broadcaster over about a 50-year span in Detroit. It was just legendary. In fact, the FM disc jockeys in Detroit used to have a field day imitating Sid's very Canadian accent.
Yeah. Well, his grandfather looking down on him now and is very proud of his grandson. Brent Johnson's had a heck of a season.
Todd Simpson goes back for the touch-up here as the icing call is made.
Well, that's been one of the strengths of St. Louis Blues, whether it's Johnson or whether it's Turek and net. I mean, when you have two guys that you can depend on, it obviously helps Joel Quenneville, and he acknowledged that before the game when you and I talked to him, Dave. But, of course, it's the style of play of St. Louis as well.
Roman Turek sitting down. Of course, he is the #1 goaltender, but he faltered in the playoffs last year, and I think Joel Quenneville's very happy to have Brent Johnson. He told Johnson in training camp, do not be satisfied with being a backup, making the #2 spot here.
That's smart, and it's great advice for a young goaltender, especially when a guy that is established and had the year that Turek had. It would be normal for a young kid like Johnson to come in and just concentrate on being a good backup, and it was right of Quenneville, obviously, to point that out. Hey, kid, you got a chance here, and we're going to play you some, so be ready.
Just to finish up on Johnson, it's not just on his mom's side, the Sid Abel connection. His dad, Bob, played 24 NHL games over 2 seasons with St. Louis and Pittsburgh as a goaltender. So he's got it from both sides of the family. Dad played in the NHL, and his grandfather, the Hall of Famer Sid Abel.
Well, St. Louis doesn't give up a whole lot of shots, so and you can say, well, it's easy to play goal for them. Some goaltenders have difficulty when they don't get a lot of shots night after night. Some goalies need a lot of shots to feel like they're in the game. It's more mental, obviously, when you can go longer stretches without a shot, or maybe only a shot or two in a space of 10 or 12 minutes. You see the shots on goal right now, only 7 on him so far. You have to be ready for every single shot, especially when it's a 2-2 hockey game in this one.
Face-off win by Eastwood. And the Blues looking to come out of their own zone. This is Dallas Drake. A little move there on Victor Kozlov, but Kozlov gets a stick on it. Loses it back to Eastwood, who dumps it into the Florida zone. And the Panthers will come right back out with it. Kozlov still looking for his first goal this season. He's one of the guys that was out injured. Separated shoulder earlier this season against the New Jersey Devils. Pavel Bure takes a look. Out near the blue line, followed there by Finley. Now dumps it in deep. Whitney is there. Whitney has been playing most of this game on the line with Kozlov and Bure. Again with Greg Adams out. Dallas Drake tried to send it across. It was blocked, and back come the Panthers. A lead pass for Bure. He's onside, fake. Oh, and a good stop there by Brent Johnson. Bure just ran out of room. He had a move in mind, and I don't think he had enough space there to execute it.
You're absolutely right. It was Dallas Drake on the back check that took away the middle of the ice, because Bure definitely wanted to make that move into the middle of the ice, Dave. Then he had to change his mind at the last minute. Brent Johnson did everything he had to and shut off that 5-hole.
Brent Johnson coming out to handle the puck. Now Larionov gets a stick on it for the Panthers. Devin Turkin is in there, the youngster for the St. Louis Blues. Now at the side of the net. Anzu showing good confidence, and he made the move, and he gets the return pass into the Florida zone. Drops it off now, gets the return pass. Tough angle shot there as Luongo cut off the angle.
Well, Ray Whitney is one of the skilled guys back in the lineup for Florida. Look at this pass. Over 2 sticks in front of Pavel Bure, giving him the chance. Now watch Bure come in, change his mind. There's the sweep of the stick, and then Bure just sort of ran out of room, and he tried to go 5-hole. Watch how he just sort of disappears for a second here. You can't let that happen. Everybody swings to the middle. He swings outside. Again, there's the pass. And he tried to go 5-hole there. An excellent job there by Brent Johnson, who got fooled on a changeup by Bure in this first period. But not on that one.
Leads all NHL forwards in ice time. And explaining to Trevor Kidd, here's what I was going to do. I had him.
He loves to score goals. That's the way it should be. That's how you become a 50-goal scorer. You got to want that puck, and you have to want to put it in.
Havenoff after the face-off win. You notice, Brian, go ahead.
Just looking at Trevor Kidd on the right, the backup goaltender, Pavel Bure. These guys have a thing going in practice. Bure even keeps track of the goals he scores in practice. They do 5 breakaways from the blue line in. Trevor Kidd told me this before the game. If Pavel only scores once, I win. If he scores twice, it's a tie. And if he scores 3 times, Pavel wins. But he says Pavel cheats all the time. I mean, I have to keep track of who exactly, how many goals went in. We have to have an arbitrator sometimes. And then they keep track on the blackboard, and everybody gets to celebrate. Trevor said, right now, I'm winning 5-4 in the overall match.
He's probably saying, don't try that move against me either that you just tried against Brent Johnson.
You're right. It's probably exactly what he said.
The point I was going to make on the faceoff there, and Florida wins that one, is that St. Louis doesn't just beat you with good centermen. It really is a team effort.
Oh, you bet.
As soon as there's a loose puck, they have one guy that's tying up a guy and then another player coming in to support the puck. It's very much a team effort on their faceoff.
All 3 forwards especially are very important in the offensive zone because you're not going to win every draw clean. You're absolutely right, Dave. And St. Louis has shown that several times here tonight. They've won them every which way possible.
Simpson moves it on the far side. Miss Worrell. Here's McGinnis. Winds up with the ground. Rebound. Score! Pavel Demitra has made it 3-2 St. Louis.
Another free one for a St. Louis forward. This time it's Pavel Demitra off the stick of Al McGinnis. McGinnis has time. He loads and fires. And Luongo makes the save, but he can't control the rebound. And from just off the edge of the blue paint, Demitra says yes. Southwest Airlines goal cam. Easy flip into the top shelf. The coverage by Florida in front of Luongo, off to the sides of Luongo, has not been good. It's cost them 2 goals in this game.
Remember, Pavel Demitra was hit by Brian Holzinger of the Tampa Bay Lightning last year and was out with the post-concussion syndrome and did not play in that series at all against San Jose.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
One guy on a great team like St. Louis, they will not use that as an excuse, but what a difference he would have made.
Great point, Dave. Absolutely right. Pavel Demitra, again, was their top scorer last year in the regular season. Missed those playoffs, and you bet a huge impact player. When every game is so tight, he could have made a big difference against San Jose, no doubt.
And the Blues, again, they're going to try to pick up the pace of this game. That it's slow down, but oh, and a collision behind the net. The goaltender, Luongo, is down. He is hurt.
Robert Svela got bumped into him. His own man actually made the contact. Jochen Hecht, I believe,
yes, I think
of
you're
St.
right.
Louis, went back, bumped into Svela, and Svela caught his own goaltender, Roberto Luongo, completely off balance. He whacked the back of his head. His mask went down. Terry Murray's thinking, this kid's playing well for me. Now what's going to happen? Oh, man. I mean, he just rocked backwards, and that mask and helmet just flew off. Stan Wong, a trainer out there, checking to see his reactions.
Well, hopefully Luongo will be all right. We'll be back after this. It's 3-2 Blues.
Luongo is staying in the game. Good news for the Florida Panthers. What a lick he took. Unbelievable there. We'll get a chance to look at it at the next face-off maybe. But good news for them that he's staying in the game.
And he's got to be on his toes right here because another face-off in the Florida end of the rink, but the Panthers come out with it. Little foot pass, Marcus Nielsen now. And it's broken up by the Blues, and back comes Jochen Hecht the other way. He hands it off for Eastwood, trying to go back to the front of the net. Jacobin got a stick on it. Jacobin back behind the Florida net. Took a bump there from Jamal Mayers. Novoselic, number 39. Well, the Panthers did not get it out. Trevor Turpin sends it across, and a save made on the shot there by Eastwood.
And did he ever have time, Dave? I mean, he had a chance to really load and fire and get everything on that shot. There have been, I think, about half a dozen times off the top of my head where St. Louis players have really had a chance to load out. Florida not covering very well in their own zone and rushing those shots. Let's take a look at the collision again. I want you to watch the collision right in front of the net, in front of the goaltenders. Robert Svela for Florida and Hecht right there. Svela is totally out of control when he bangs into his own goaltender. Then listen to the impact of what happened to Roberto Luongo. Oh, man. And he is very fortunate that the back of his head did not hit the dasher.
Yep. Well, Trevor Kidd, you know, was looking on with concern for his teammate and also wondering whether he would get the call or not. Blues come out, could have a 2-on-1 developing here. Nash And he's going to chase it down, but the 2-on-1 goes away by the time the play was made.
Michael Handzus went for a line change. It seemed like it was predetermined in his own mind that he wanted to get to the bench, even though they had just dropped the puck. He was out there for the face-off. But he did have a chance on the 2-on-1 day, but it certainly wasn't very well handled. And while we take a look at action here, it looks like maybe a penalty. Let's go back to the studio for a second. John Butchergrass.
Thanks, Brian. Let's go to Pittsburgh. The Penguins down 3-0 late in the game. 1:36 left. Jaromir Jagr, twisted wrist there. First goal in 7 games. 3-1. Moments later, Marty Straka, goal. 3-2. The Pens kept their pressure on, but somehow Hasek kept the puck out.
Boy, I thought you were leading up to another miraculous comeback the way that was going, but see, Bryce Salvador is in the box for holding here at 12:01.
Well, the Panthers are down 3-2, and they'll have a chance on the power play. Bryce Salvador in the middle of the screen. A little bit of a hold. Pretty good acting job there by Florida, too, to draw attention to it. Nonetheless, 2 minutes for holding for Salvador.
And the Blues win the faceoff cleanly, and that allows Pronger to drive it down the ice. And there you see, not only 0 for 2, no shots on goal, no scoring chances on their power play so far tonight.
Robert Svela back on the point on the power play here for Florida. He was off it for a couple of games, and I think he's been on the power play almost ever since he's been a Panther the last couple of seasons. So, again, Terry Murray has tried everything and almost everybody on the power play.
Murray drives the shot. Brent Johnson square to the shot, able to handle that one easily. Murray again now, right point, winds up. He'll let it go high this time. Svela now on the far side has it. Hands it off to Ray Whitney. Whitney gives it off on the corner. Kozlov makes a nice little move, and he fans it. We've seen him do that 2 or 3 times. That happened last night in the game against Detroit, trying for the wrist shot. Set up there for Pavel Bure, didn't quite connect. Here's Victor Kozlov again. And it's taken away, and Handzus able to clear it all the way down the ice.
Florida's tried to do different styles on the power play, too. They were using 2 defensemen for a long time on the power play. They've often gone to 4 forwards lately, and the umbrella style, you move the defenseman in the middle and have a winger up top, high on either side, and try to get shots. Pavel Bure in particular, they like pulling the trigger.
Brent Johnson, the goaltender, clearing it down the ice. Conroy hustling there against Brett Hennigan. Conroy run into there by Anders Eriksson. Conroy keeping the skates moving, causing all kinds of havoc. This is a big reason why the St. Louis Blues penalty killing is right at the very top of the NHL.
They read so well. They know when to get on a guy, when to give them a little bit of room, when they're in a dangerous position and when they're not. That's all about reading and killing penalties. You have to be smart. You have to be able to read plays and consistently do it well.
McGinnis dumps it into the Florida zone. Mike Eastwood was down there. Just a few seconds remaining in the Salvador penalty. Boyle across the line, dumps it off the glass behind the St. Louis goal. Tough angle shot by Worrell was handled easily by Johnson. Worrell working hard there against the Blues defense.
It wasn't a bad idea for Worrell to take a shot from a bad angle like that. They'd get it in front, but the problem is nobody else up front was reading that play. Yeah. Everybody else was behind the St. Louis net waiting for a pass. So it just shows you they just can't get it all together on the same page to make their plays on their power play, and it's suffered.
McGinnis to have it off. Number 29 for the Blues. Sends it ahead for Dallas Drake. Drake sends it to the far corner of the Florida zone. Turgeon has it there. Quick pass now to Young behind the net. Young reverses it back for Turgeon. Took it away from Nielsen. Turgeon right out in front and fired just wide. Kevin Turkin came in from the blue line, read the play well, and was set up perfectly. Just missed the net. Turgeon has it again. Sends it up for Young. And driving a save by Luongo. Panthers send it all the way down the ice. Brent Johnson's going to play it and very calmly swoops it. Vladimir Chebaturkin will play it up the right wing side. It comes to Turgeon. He hands it off to Dallas Drake, who's without his helmet. Tried to dump it in front. Pitlick got a stick on it. And now Anders Eriksson takes over.
It's a weird feeling, too, when you're used to playing with a helmet, as all these guys are, and then all of a sudden you're in the middle of the play, like Dallas Drake carrying the puck, and you don't have your helmet on anymore. You feel a little naked out there.
One of the Blues players came over and stumbled into the boards, and I'm not sure that he did perhaps injure himself.
Bartechko, I think it is.
Yeah, went down very, very awkwardly.
Yeah, he kind of blew a tire just a couple of feet from the boards. We couldn't see it because of our angle here. We still can't even see him laying on the ice right now from our position. But all you saw was him coming towards the boards, and he lost control somehow.
Boy,
And what are they checking? A knee?
Yeah, he doesn't even want to straighten his legs out, it doesn't look like. Joel Quenneville obviously concerned. The Blues with a 3-2 lead, 4.5 remaining here in the second period.
Quenneville, he saw his man Lubos Bartechko go into the boards. Watch him come in, watch his feet. And then watch him go into the boards. He left the ice really favoring that right knee, and look how twisted it up it is that right there. Oh, that hurts me just to look at. You can see him clutch it right away. Whether it was bad ice or he just lost his balance, but you could see the stutter step and chopping of his feet there. Lost all control and backed into the boards, twisting that knee.
3-2, Blues lead the Panthers. Just over 4 minutes left in the second period. Dave Schrader along with Ryan Englund, the rest of our National Hockey Night crew, here from the Savvis Center, downtown St. Louis. Anders Eriksson pushes it ahead for Ray Whitney. Jeff Finley for the Blues, able to clear it back the other way, and Eriksson will have to go back into his own zone again. Florida Panthers continuing on the road will go to Toronto, and last look, Toronto was managing to hang on to a 5-goal third period lead over the Rangers. Now let's take a look at our Keystone Light storyline. Pavel Bure with a goal tonight, his 15th. Turgeon answered that, and of course Al McGinnis. Both of the assists coming off booming shots that the goaltender could not control.
And our Keystone Light storyline replay is the Pavel Demitra goal that he had standing right on the edge of the crease. He got a free one after the Al McGinnis shot. He just flicks it into the top corner. That has given the St. Louis Blues a lead. And then Roberto Luongo getting decked by his own man, Robert Svela. Fortunately, he is still in the hockey game and okay.
Well, Luongo had just a terrific training camp. They were very excited about this young man, and they gave up quite a bit. With Oleg Kvasha and Mark Parrish going to the New York Islanders. And as we pointed out, his numbers pretty good except for the wins and losses. There's the speed up the middle. Puck was poked away. St. Louis fans wanted a penalty there. Luongo pokes it to the corner again. It's recovered by Niedermeyer. He collides there with Nash and then gives him a little extra. Worrell across the line. Runs into McGinnis. Big hit by Niedermeyer on Eastwood in front of the Florida Panthers bench. Now McGinnis from center ice decides to just dump it in.
Jamal Mayers has been in everybody's face, and right at the moment he's in Peter Worrell's face. Worrell was pushing and shoving with Al McGinnis. Jamal Mayers came from across the ice and got his gloves up in Peter Worrell's face, and you got to be pretty brave to do that. This guy is a big, strong man, and he can really throw him. And he looks over at the Florida bench, at the St. Louis bench before he goes to take a rest. But Jamal Mayers has really done a good job of throwing his body around. Here's the initial contact with Worrell and McGinnis, and then off the screen there, they were pushing shove a little bit, and then that's where Mayers came back in, did a good job on him. That's part of the things many things that Jamal Mayers will do. Incredible wheels the guy has. He forechecks well, and he got right in the face of Peter Worrell there in defense of Al McGinnis. He'd rather take the 2 minutes than Al McGinnis anytime.
Yep. Down under 3 minutes now remaining here in the second period. This was a 2-2 hockey game after one, and the Pavel Demitra goal that we showed you moments ago is the difference in the game right now. Again, this is a St. Louis team that gives up an average of less than 2 goals per game. He knew one of their main objectives was going to be to try to completely shut this Florida team down.
The tempo of the game has slowed again now. It was pretty good tempo throughout the first period. We had 4 goals scored. This one's been a more careful period, and therefore it's taken some of the tempo off it. Some of the bad passing actually by St. Louis has done that too. They're not as sharp moving the puck. And it goes back to what we were talking about when we spoke with Joe Quenneville before the game, Dave. He said we're not as good shift to shift as we were last year. And the tempo gets affected by giveaways naturally coming out of your own zone. They didn't do that last year. They just constantly came at you.
Pronger anticipated, read that pass very well, sends it across into the Panthers zone. Todd Simpson, though, able to get there, clear it the other way. And back come the Florida Panthers on the attack. Paille rolls into the side of the Blues net. And Johnson just left it there for Pronger. Long pass again, that didn't connect. Hanzus tries to roll it across, deflected by Nielsen, but picked up in Dimitra. Just put it up too high over the glove of Luongo. It's lobbed back toward the net, save Luongo. He's down and covers the puck and holds it there. Paul Stewart gives him the benefit of the whistle, and that gives us a chance to tell you what's coming up on our NHL Tonight intermission report. The Coyotes getting Claude Lemieux. That reportedly was a deal that's been done for a while, but waiting for the Wayne Gretzky ownership to take over. That has not been announced yet, but as Barry was talking about, hopefully that's a sign that maybe that deal is going to get done. A November to remember, and Barry talking about the deal between Edmonton and Boston, Jensen Carter and Bill Guerin.
Well, we've been talking a lot about face-offs throughout this game. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Look where we're at now. That is total domination, and that leads to trouble. Just looking at those numbers, if you didn't see any part of the game, you would assume that the St. Louis Blues were winning this game if you're a hockey person. Even in fact, they are 3-2.
To win this, drawn and saved by Luongo off the foot shot there by Pronger. And again, an example of a team face-off win, and Finley, instead of shooting, slid it across to Pronger, who had the better opportunity. Look out, everybody on the Blues bench saw that coming with the cross-ice pass going off the stick and out of play.
There's big Chris Pronger. Multiple winner last year, MVP of the National Hockey League and the Norris Trophy, as the best defenseman. He's playing about 2.5 minutes a game less than he did last year, which is good. He also was leading St. Louis in power play points coming into this game tonight. I was a little bit surprised about that. I would have guessed McGinnis or Turgeon. But two of the biggest areas that he's improved in, I think, is his passing and his offensive production. I mean, he's really done it on a consistent basis, especially from the second half of last year and now into this season. Chris Pronger picking up where he left off last year.
Last minute of play this period.
As you may have heard from the PA announcer here, under a minute to go now in the second period. Victor Kozlov trying to protect the puck. Spela had him bounce over his stick. Head sends it back to the line. Finley works it along the boards. Dimitra could not control it. Victor Kozlov gets it down. There's Eriksson, and Eriksson long pass center right, taken there by Pavel Bure. Bure into the blue zone, going wide on Finley. Bure puts all the brakes, tried to send it back to the left point, but it was deflected away by Hanzus and ends up out of play.
Well, Pavel Bure, Dave, I was looking at some numbers today, and Bure is 10 years in the National Hockey League. There's only been 4 years where he's missed less than 10 games. Every one of those years, he's scored 50 goals or more. Watch this breakout. Here's Pavel Bure right here. As he starts to fly the zone, look at St. Louis respect his speed. That makes for an easy breakout for the Florida defenseman. Because the guy's got such blistering speed, Finley was giving him an awful lot of room. But I mean, isn't that something, though? He scored at least 51 goals every year where he's only missed less than 10 games because of injuries. Of course, he's had some big injuries. He's had his knees blown out a couple of times. So it bodes well if he can stay healthy again this year, that you're looking at another 50-goal year. Again, he's ahead of his pace last year, and Bure had 58 goals last year.
20 seconds left of the period. Eastwood takes a look around, now backhands it in on Luongo, and he will cover up.
A big part of this, I'd say, the second period and the last part of the first period for Roberto Luongo has been his ability to smother rebounds when he has a chance. He has left some out there and has cost him a couple of times. And in this second period here, I mean, it's been all he can do sometimes to just control the puck and keep it in front of him. St. Louis is a team that just thrives on it. They have so many guys. Dimitra got a goal because of a rebound. So did Turgeon get a goal because of a rebound, and both times it was the cannon of Al McGinnis that Luongo just couldn't quite control.
One of the rare times we've seen Worrell and Reed Lowe on the ice at the same time, and Worrell's been throwing his body around lately. The two of them kind of come together as the Blues control the faceoff. Conroy wanted to roll it out in front. Worrell doesn't have a stick in his hand. I'm not sure what happened there. Tyson Nash shot was blocked, and the Panthers failed to clear. Pronger shot saved Luongo. Pitlick gets to it, and that's going to do it. And now you got Simpson and Reed Lowe. They're going to drop the gloves. Now they drop the gloves after the buzzer goes. No time on the clock. I don't know if there'll be any extra, or would have been anything extra with that.
Yeah, they were ready. The linesman got in there pretty quickly, though.
Well, Barry Melrose is going to be upset the linesman did get in there that quickly. Well, there was some hitting going on in the second period. Just the one goal came from Dimitra, and that's the difference. It's 3-2. Let's send it back to John and Barry, guys. Welcome back and happy holidays, everybody. Got to remember that. Saying last night, here it is, December 2nd. Where did November go to?
Yeah.
Lou Barteshko, we are told an ankle sprain. Hopefully that's all it is.
Yeah, really. I mean, the way he clutched his leg, it looked like his knee had twisted in the way he went down. But either way, it's not good for him to be out of the rest of the game, obviously. Hopefully he won't be gone long.
This will be an icing call right off the bat here against the St. Louis Blues, and the faceoff will go back into the Blues zone.
Well, Joe Quenneville's got to be pretty happy the fact that they're in the lead right now. Team playing okay. Outscoring the opposition 33-16 in third periods bodes pretty well for the rest of the game.
The other side of that, Florida has scored only 12 third period goals all year, and that is the fewest in the National Hockey League. Well, the face-off here in the Blues zone. And again, a clean win for St. Louis, dominating the draws. Winning 40, losing only 14 through 2 periods of play. Out shooting the Florida Panthers 30-10. But it's still a 3-2 hockey game. Etiquette moving in from the point now for the Panthers. Pronger trying to move it right back out, and he does get it back inside the Florida blue line. Bure turning in his own zone. Not much room to go against this St. Louis team. Bure tugged to the ice. Penalty coming.
You bet.
Delayed call. Victor Kozlov's shot was just steered aside there by Brent Johnson.
Let's take a look at the first period highlights while we have chance here. Second period, excuse me. Pavel Demitra will score a goal on the rebound of an Al McGinnis shot, and that put them ahead 3-2. And Pavel Bure with a couple of real good scoring chances. That one with Jochen Hesch deflecting at the last minute, and this one, Brent Johnson just doing a real good job of taking away the 5-hole, as Pavel looked like he wanted to stuff that one underneath. And it also looks like Florida Panthers will go on the power play here. It was Jochen Hesch after Pavel Bure doing what he does so well, just dipping and diving and holding on to the puck, turning around. He had lost Jochen Hesch, and anytime you reach like that, it's a penalty that's going to get called pretty much 10 times out of 10.
Yep. Incidentally, there were no penalties called at the end of the period when Simpson and of Florida and Reed Lowe of the Blues squared off. So that's why you saw Hesch in the box and the only one in there. So power play for Florida. This is their 4th opportunity. And again, just one good shot away from tying this hockey game.
And there's a clean face-off win again, this time for the penalty-killing St. Louis Blues. Al McGinnis doesn't make many mistakes. You give him a chance to shoot it out easily, and valuable time wasted off his power play for Florida.
Worrell got a stick on that to deflect it into the Blues zone, but again, McGinnis gets there quickly and flips it back out to center ice. Dan Boyle, who's not played a ton here tonight. Very good offensive defenseman, has played a little bit of forward actually for Terry Murray as Hennigan gets it into the zone. Centering attempt was blocked. Rob Niedermeyer, who has one of the 2 Florida goals. Worrell comes over to help out. He gets the Blues puck along the boards, but the Blues recover. Nice little back pass here, and it sends Michael Handzus back the other way. And Handzus, even though being bothered by Worrell, kills some valuable time. The penalty crowd wanted Worrell to get a tripping call there, and then he shoves Handzus to the ice. Igor Lariana takes the dump it, now hands it off. Here's Boyle, tried to throw it across. That was blocked, came right back to him though. Hands it off to Bure in deep. Bure taps it to the corner. Worrell tried to step around Conroy, and Pronger was slashed by Worrell, and then Pronger came up with the stick. Worrell delivered a slash to the arm, I believe, of Pronger, and then Pronger just reached back and he gave Worrell a shot with the stick.
Yeah, Pronger looked like he was hurting a little bit, but he also knew the clunk off the head of Worrell. The follow-through, watch here, Pronger comes right up. What he was doing was Worrell's stick was on top of Pronger, so Pronger was pitchforking his stick out of the way like, get out of my face, but the follow-through hit Peter Worrell right across the forehead, and we could hear the clunk off his helmet all the way up here. Now Peter Worrell, not a happy camper, because he's the one that gets the penalty on the play, and he's thinking, hey, I just took one off the melon here. Why am I going to the penalty box? But Pronger, I think, is over there going, okay, I'm glad I didn't get 2 for that one.
Well, a reminder, hockey fans, National Hockey Night will bring you another edition of NHL Rules. It'll be Tuesday, December 12th, and we've got John LeClaire and the Philadelphia Flyers taking on the Nashville Predators. Again, Tuesday, December 12th, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. A great opportunity to learn more about the game, regardless of what level of fan you are. Darren Pang, Bill Clement, Steve Levy will bring you all the in-depth action and coverage and explanation of this great sport. Hope you'll join us for that one.
Well, Peter Worrell got called, obviously, for the first slash that you talked about, Dave. He did give a pretty good chop across the arm, which had made Pronger so angry in the first place and caused him to raise his stick up. But Pronger's still lucky he didn't get two.
And right there, Luongo lucky that he covered that one up. I'm actually shocked that he didn't get a penalty. I mean, you can't carelessly swing your stick like that. Even, I mean, the officials have said if you make that motion, even if you just make contact with the opponent's stick, you don't actually slash him somewhere, they're going to call it. As we look at Luongo again.
Here's a look. A face-off one again, and a redirection there. Good tracking there by Luongo, going down and getting the big pad on. He's a big kid, covers an awful lot of net out there. Done a nice job here tonight. He's had a lot of shots, a lot of action against him, and some, I'd say, probably 8 shots I can think of about that have been lots of time and lots of room for St. Louis Blues to pull the trigger on.
Well, about half a minute of 4-on-4 hockey if we don't get any other calls. An important stretch, especially for the Panthers. They're down by 1, and they could do something here. Make it a lot easier facing that St. Louis power play again. The Blues come up with it, and Pavel Demitra crisscrossing with Conroy. Now gives it off to number 22. Conroy closing in, slides in across, and a great defensive play by Spela. Or Pronger may have had it just a tap in. Here's Demitra with it. Great control of the puck. Conroy came in. He thought he was going to get the pass, and there was a collision there, and Conroy is lucky that he's not shaken up more than he appears to be.
And Conroy goes right to the bench, though. That was a little screw up in communication and a chance lost on net.
There's Burry with it, but the Florida Panthers now shorthanded. It is driven all the way down the ice. So you see now a little less than a minute remaining on this St. Louis Blues power play. 3.5 minutes gone by here in the third period. Blues with a 1-goal lead over the Florida Panthers. As Barry Melrose pointed out earlier tonight, don't feel too sorry for Florida because of the division they're in. But well, I tell you, you just can't continue to waste points early in the year. I mean, remember, 16 teams make the playoffs as always, or has been the case for many years in the National Hockey League. That means there's 14 teams, 7 in each conference that won't make it, and there's going to be some.
But each division winner gets in, and it may come down to whoever wins the Southeast Division may be the only team that makes the playoffs.
Here is Young now, behind the net. Got Young looking out in front for Dallas Drake. That probably is going to be the only ticket in for the Southeast Division. You're right. Great job by Pronger to hold it in. McGinnis just fires it in wide. Played off the end boards by Young. Got Young, wheels, looks across, still has it. Now gives it off deep for Turgeon. Turgeon stuffs it in. He's right off the shoulder of Luongo. Luongo can't believe it, but I guarantee you, as tough and impossible as this looks, this is what Pierre Turgeon was trying to do. Now, it does take a little bit of luck as well as skill, but watch this.
You bet. Look at him looking there. You think that was an accident? Absolutely not, folks. This guy is way too skilled and too smart. He took the percentages. He could see the kid going down, trying to cover the low area. He banked it in off the shoulder. Is that a great goal by a goal scorer from way behind the end red line? Great smart. Southwest Airlines goal cam.
I mean, he just still can't believe it.
Yeah. He said, oops, I got duped on that one. He outsmarted me on that one. I gave him only a little bit. And he obviously wasn't even in scoring area. He's behind the net.
Well, McGinnis gets his 3rd assist. Turgeon getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 10th of the year. And it's a 2-goal lead for the Blues.
Making something out of nothing, literally, that one.
Pavel Demitra will take some time. Drop it back into his own zone. It's fired down the ice by Cheva Turkin. And no icing here as Erickson goes back. And we'll start it out from behind his own goal. Pass was behind Igor Larionov. Serge Paillet there flips it out to center ice. Kamenov tried to flick it ahead, and we have it whistled down in the neutral zone. We'll go back to the studio once again.
Thanks, Dave. Your score is 4-2, and it is now 4-2 in Phoenix. Wyatt Smith, tough angle. That's a bad goal for Ed Belfour to give up, but he still has a 2-goal cushion.
All right, John, thanks very much. John Butcher, Grassbury, Melrose. Run down all the action from around the NHL and update you on these stories. Bob Lemieux's deal. He's going to be a Coyote. Ty Domi, the goal scorer, north of the border. All coming up on NHL tonight. After our game here in St. Louis, the Blues lead at 4-2, looking to add to that. Jamal Mayers fired it in wide. Now here's McGinnis with it. Oh, he scored! Unless Jamal Mayers touched that. Well, McGinnis is either going to get his 4th assist or he's going to get his first goal to go along with his other 3. And it's a 5-2 St. Louis lead.
I'm not sure if that was deflected either, Dave, but it was a shot from the boards, not from the scoring area. Here's McGinnis, and I think maybe the goaltender, Luongo, got tied up with Jacopin. Oh, no, he didn't. It was definitely a deflection there by Myers. Jamal Mayers, rather. Completely changed the direction of that one. I saw Jacopin, the defenseman, come out to the crease area, and at fast action, it looked like maybe he had interfered with his own goaltender, but it was a terrific deflection by Mayers. All the work on that one.
First of the season for Jamal Mayers, and again, they just beat you so many different ways, although McGinnis involved in the goal again with his 4th assist. 5:20 the time of the goal, and the Blues fell behind in this game 2-1, but the very next shift after that goal by Bure had given Florida the lead. The Blues just went to work, taking the body, and completely took over the tempo of this game.
Yeah, and tempo means so much in the game. And that's a sign of a great team. They didn't have the tempo, Dave, when they were down 2-1. They got it back, and it's been full speed ahead since then.
14 minutes straight up left here in the 3rd period, and this St. Louis team just so much confidence. I mentioned earlier they've lost only 1 game at home, 9 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. The only loss coming against Vancouver right before Thanksgiving, a 4-3 game.
And it's one thing to have a good record at home, but to have a dominating record puts you in another stratosphere. And if you're going to be one of the top teams in the National Hockey League, you have to dominate at home, because that means an awful lot in the big games and, of course, when the playoffs come around. And it's not as easy to do as a lot of people think. Just ask teams like Montreal and Chicago.
Kozlov across the line. Bure darted in there. Here's Kozlov with a chance. Fires it just wide. Brent Johnson looked like he was ready to move that right skate if he had to, but pretty good scoring area that Kozlov took that shot from. Now Reed Lowe run into by Simpson. The two of them have words again. Nothing's going to happen here. Now Conroy tries to slide it in front. Victor Kozlov. Reed Lowe goes in, puts a hit on him. Now Simpson goes back over, gives Reed Lowe another shove. Reed Lowe's being pretty smart about this. This team's up 5-2. Now here comes Bure versus speed backhand shot. He was being hooked on the play a bit. No penalty coming. And now the net behind Brent Johnson is off the supports. A 1-goal game coming into the 3rd, but then Turgeon, boy, he still gets excited even after 14 years in the league, and so does Jamal Mayers. 3-goal advantage for the Blues. Well, he's got 4 assists tonight. He has had a 5-assist game. I'm not surprised at that. March 20th, 1994, while with the Calgary Flames in a 6-3 win over Toronto.
He's got the touch. Good things happen when you get the puck to Al McGinnis.
Now McGinnis under some pressure there from Worrell. Turgeon, oh, he was given a hard hit from behind there by Worrell. And now Spela under some pressure. Turgeon after him in the Panther zone. Len Berry with it, and he flips it back out the other way, and then ends up on the St. Louis bench and out of play. Now, speaking of NHL rules, we just did the promo. The NHL rules game we did in Columbus against Dallas. I sat down with Ken Hitchcock and asked him an interesting series of questions. I said, if you could pick an NHL team and a coach, but you couldn't pick any of your Dallas players, who would you pick first? He said Peter Forsberg. His wingers would be Yager and Correa. His defense would be Joe Quenneville's great defenseman Chris Pronger, and also Scott Niedermayer. The goaltender would be Martin Brodeur. And I said to Ken Hitchcock, who would the coach be if it couldn't be you? And he said, Joel Quenneville, without hesitation. He said, I just admire the way Joel handles a team that's expected to win, and the way that he has taken a collection of guys. And you mentioned it even at the top of the show, talking about Turgeon, how he's underrated as far as superstars go. There's some very, very talented players on this team.
You bet.
But the whole comes before the individual. There's no question about that here in St. Louis.
And over the last 2 years, we've talked a lot about the tremendous chemistry that the St. Louis Blues have, and that chemistry starts from Joel Quenneville. They love playing for him. Turgeon line out there again. Turgeon's been great. And he's been the most noticeable player on that line by far. This line has been their best with Dallas Drake, the new acquisition in the offseason, and Scott Young. Young was so hot at the beginning of the year. He had 12 goals in the month of October, only 2 in November. But hey, he's got 14 goals. That ain't half bad.
No.
And at the end of the year, you know, whatever he ends up with, the most he's ever had is 30 goals in a season, and looks like he can easily get back to that level again. But this line's been really good. Penalty on the last play. Robert Svela, number 24. Oh, yeah, he really reefed Dallas Drake there. So St. Louis goes on the power play here with a chance to increase the lead.
7:35 of the third period, the time of the penalty. McGinnis toward the front of the net, nearly redirected in. Now Pronger gives it back to McGinnis. McGinnis drives it along the boards. Bouncing puck on the far side. Turgeon gets to it. Back to the line. Pronger, great play. Sends it across to McGinnis. McGinnis between the circles. It comes back out to Pronger. Quickly to McGinnis. Great puck movement here on this St. Louis power play. Now Young on the far side looking for the puck. Turgeon, though, can't get it to him yet. Hands it off instead to Dimitra. Back to Turgeon. Gets the shot away. He tried to go 5-hole, and Luongo just closed it up. Let's go back to the studio. John Butchergrass.
Thank you, Dave. Some West Coast hockey, Minnesota, in Los Angeles. And Brian Smolinski, the one-timer. They love it in El Segundo. 1-0 L.A.
Thanks, John. There's a look at Al McGinnis' stick. The blade that he uses, we've shown it before. It's like a 9-iron that you'd use and chip balls onto the green with in golf. And I don't know how he passes the puck as well as he does. He has to keep the puck really close to his feet in order to pass right, but man, can he shoot rockets with that thing.
Boyle for the Panthers center ice. No options except just to dump it in, and the Blues get there first. Well, St. Louis again coming off that great comeback the other night. Jochen Hess tries to go high on the stick side. Luongo didn't miss by much. After giving up 2 goals in the first period, the Blues have gotten right back into their form. And again under some pressure there from Dallas Drake. Hanzus there as well. Puck comes free off the boards. It's recovered by Jacobin. He sends it ahead now. Marcus Nielsen. Nielsen across the line, and Boyle went in ahead of the payoff side.
When things don't go well for you, you start trying to change things. Viktor Kozlov has only played in 11 games out of 23 this year. He's only got 3 points. He had 70 points last year. That's just one of the reasons, you know, that Florida hasn't been able to score many goals. Well, what he did lately, he shaved his head. Of course, you can't see it underneath the helmet.
Right.
And guys asked him, well, what did your wife think? Said, she shaved it. So obviously she was okay with it. So far it's not helping him. It hasn't changed his luck a whole lot, but we'll keep our fingers crossed for him and the Panthers that it does real soon.
Pitlick from his own blue line plays it ahead. And McGinnis out from behind his own goal. Again, the Panthers shorthanded as Pronger sends it in toward the Florida goal. Luongo stick along the ice, steered it away. Panthers clear it, but here comes McGinnis. Looking to come right back quickly on the attack. Gives it off to Jamal Mayers, getting some power play time. Low shot stopped there by Luongo. Shots unofficially now 36-11. So just one shot for the Panthers here in the third.
Yeah, it's been about puck control. I mean, St. Louis really started to dominate this game the last stages of the second period and now into this third.
Jamal Mayers again across the center ice line, dumps it into the Panther zone. Florida will come out with it as the Panthers back in full strength. Whitney dumps it along in behind Brent Johnson. He stops it there, nearly a giveaway, but the Blues come up with it. Avanov gives it off to Reed Lowe. Now Lowe chasing it down in the Panther zone, wanting to put it to the front of the net. Blues get it back low, looking for it. It's knocked away by Luongo. Just got the stick on it. Jacobin for the Panthers. Hammers it off the board, center ice. And here come the Panthers on the attack. Paille hands it off. Igor Lariano tried to go back to Paille, and the pass was blocked.
I think St. Louis's ability to sustain attacks inside the Florida zone, with Florida having played last night and traveled, is really starting to take its toll now, Dave. Florida not moving their feet nearly as quickly as they did in the first half of the game. It's understandable, but it's from St. Louis really grinding it down low, and that sustained attack just tears your legs out at the end of that second night.
Oh, had it stripped away. Here's Nielsen with a chance. Brent Johnson able to stop that one. And a rare shot on goal. And again, even though they get the shot, there's one shot and out. That's it. Nielsen again tries a 60-footer. Johnson this time the left pad. Dallas Drake is there. He puts it off the glass and out to center ice. Under 9 minutes now left in this one. Ole Jokinen put it into the zone, and McGinnis lost his stick.
So he just threw it out of the zone. Do what you got to do, Al.
He lifts this one back into the Panther zone. Now Simpson able to clear it back. Here comes Nielsen with it. Hands it off. Jokinen. Taken to the board by McGinnis. Over Seltzev. Battling there with Dallas Drake. Salvador wants to keep the puck moving. Blues don't want the clock to stop. They want it to keep going. And McGinnis will come out of his own zone with it. Little flip pass back into the Panther zone. Simpson moves it quickly. Nielsen has it there, and he'll drive it along the boards in behind the St. Louis goal. Logan Hesch gets to it, and Hesch will start it back the other way. Panthers line up at center ice. No place for the Blues to go that time. Ray Whitney trying to chase it down back deep in the St. Louis zone. Victor Kozlov avoided most of that Kevin Turkin attempted hit along the boards, and the Blues clear it out center ice, taken by Dimitra one-on-one against Todd Simpson. Centering pass intercepted by Spela. That was Jochen Hesch that was breaking down the far side and was well set up again by the Blues off the rush. And the Panthers had to scramble back to recover on that one. 7.5 remaining now here in the third period. Pronger in his own zone, slides it across. Jeff Finley, center ice. Tyson Nash, who started the scoring in this game, but Red Hennigan able to knock it away. Here comes Ray Whitney trying to get around Pronger. He does. Wanted a one-handed across.
Good play.
Good smart play indeed by the defenseman Jeff Finley.
Ray Whitney finally thought he was in, Dave, and he hasn't had too many scoring chances. And Jeff Finley does a great job of just sliding across, and he took away everything.
Here comes Bure leading 3 Panthers into the St. Louis zone. Niedermeyer slides it across. Oh, what a great chance for Whitney. What a stop there by Brent Johnson. Ray Whitney, just 2 goals on the season, thought he had his third. This shot here, oh boy, and the bad luck continues. It hit Whitney in the right hand.
Can you believe that? What a shift for Whitney. He's going off now with a sore hand. That one hit him right in the back of the wrist. A shot from his own player after being stoned by Brent Johnson and by Jeff Finley in consecutive chances.
Kicked out of the zone by Bryce Salvador. Anders Eriksson behind his own goal. Reed Lowe again in on the forecheck. St. Louis just doesn't let up.
No, they don't. And Florida, just as I said, they're just showing that they just don't have much left in their legs right now, trying to generate something offensively. Every time they get the puck, there's a white jersey 2 inches from their nose, and they can't get any momentum.
Spela hands it off now. Niedermeyer for the Panthers at center ice. Wants to go outside. And now slides it across. A chance here for Barry cutting in. Ran out of room. Loose puck in front. Worrell couldn't find it. Shot from the point deflected with Brent Johnson completely out of the net. Spela at the line. Puts it between the circles, but the Blues come up with it. Here comes Worrell after Reed Lowe. There's a big hit. And you know that's going to draw a reaction. Well, nothing's going to happen here. Worrell having a conversation. Reed Lowe decides he's going to skate to the bench.
Al McGinnis was a moderator there, I think, and he had a tight rein on Worrell, and Lowe and Worrell decided to go their separate ways.
Broken up right at the Blues line. Here comes Turgeon the other way. Here Turgeon fakes the shot as he was watched there by Pitlick, but Turgeon still has it. Pulls up, slides it in front. Oh, and was that a save by Luongo? Redirected by Dallas Drake right in front.
And that was the terrific puck control we talked about from Pierre Turgeon. Turgeon, no matter what the situation, always seems to be in control with the puck. He made that play happen, and it was almost a terrific deflection.
Boyle sends it across. Larionov tries to put it back the other way, and it was blocked by Chepeturkin. Igor Larionov again. Chepeturkin giving him a shove. And now Scott Young intercepts. Young and Dallas Drake play a little throw and catch.
Poor Florida. They made some great plays here in the last couple of shifts, but no finish. Just can't get it in the net.
Turnover neutral zone. Dimitra, he was looking for a spot on the glove side and just missed it high. Centering pass. Dimitra on the backhand. Decides to go back to the line. Pronger, top of the circle, gives it back to Dimitra. Slides it across, and it was just tipped away. Hess drives it back in. Dimitra one more time with it. Sends it back to the point. Now the Western Conference has taken something like 62% of the possible points against the East.
St. Louis has really got Florida running around now.
Here's Dimitra in front, has it on a string. What a save by Luongo! Oh, he lost his goal stick, but somehow he made the save. Oh, St. Louis just not letting up. They are putting on a show, and they lead it 5-2. Back after this.
Really had Florida running on that last shift. To watch Pavel Dimitra come to the front of the net. Nobody but the goaltender in front of him. Watch Luongo. He actually lets go of his stick for a second. That could have been a penalty shot if it was deemed intentional, but the puck hit the post. Look at the balance by Dimitra. This is how he beats Pitlick back to the front of the net. Luongo just strings the play out, and it hits the post. Here again, watch Luongo's stick. Did he let it go on purpose? Only he knows. There it goes.
Boy.
And he got a little piece of it. Yeah, a little piece of it and off the post. Pavel Dimitra has really been hot in the last half dozen, 8 games.
Having a bouncing shot handled there by Luongo. We're late in the third period, and the Blues lead it here 5-2.
Yeah, he's reconsidering. What could I have done on that one? Everything but the finish. I mean, he just tried to wait for Luongo to go down and put it in the empty side. Good numbers for the big guy.
See that he's a +9 in the third period. That tells you that not only is he on the ice a lot in important situations, he and his line mates are doing something when they have the opportunity.
Yeah, and that goes back to the numbers we showed earlier that St. Louis dominates everybody in the third period.
Marcus Nielsen with it. Nielsen lost it, though, and Eastwood able to chop it out to center ice. Again, Lubos Bartetsko, in case you joined us late, injured an ankle. At least that's the preliminary report. Late in the second period, stumbling into the boards. Ice has been a bit rough here. Over the basketball game played earlier this afternoon. They didn't finally get the ice completely uncovered and shaved in Zamboni till between 5:30 and 6 o'clock local time. Puck is knocked away here by Drake, and Drake starts it back into the Florida zone. Drop pass for Turgeon. He drives the shot. Pad save. Rebound was there for Young. Picked up now. Salvador fires it just wide. A shooting gallery against Roberto Luongo.
The shots are so lopsided now in St. Louis's favor. They have been all game long. But again, just some bombs being fired at him from all different distances. Blue lines, tops of circles, everywhere.
Finley drops it back into his own zone. And then gives Salvador the out. Pass was just off the stick of Turgeon. And Igor Larionov lobs it back into the blue zone. Salvador run into a hit hard there by Dan Boyle.
There have been some big hits along the wall here tonight by both teams.
Erickson shot stopped by Johnson. Kicked it all the way out to the far boards. Held in by Boyle at the point. His shot knocked down in front. Chased down on the near side. Now Larionov with it again. Larionov with Kendall on the boards. Good play by the youngster Salvador against a cagey player like Larionov.
Penalty.
Yep, penalty at the side of the net. Turgeon was tied up there with Dan Boyle.
Well, a chance for Florida to get something going here. Pierre Turgeon, shrug of his shoulders, goes to the penalty box for holding. He was covering his man down low, which St. Louis does a good job of. He gets all tied up with Boyle right there. Yeah, that's a pretty good hold, all right. He had a hold of his left arm. Paul Stewart all over that one, made that call. Well, it'll start with the face-off inside the zone. Joe Quenneville's boys have dominated the face-offs tonight. Power play for the Florida Panthers. If they can win that draw and get some time spent inside the zone, maybe they can get one back for Roberto Luongo. Look at the shots, 40 to 50.